you tell me what do you mean by taxes on sales or sales and purchases? What you understand when you heard taxes?
Whenever we purchase and import the taxes, apart from the goods price, extra
Yes,
amount.
yes, yes, exactly. So at the time of purchases, we pay the tax. We will pay the tax, right? In the same way, at the time of sales also, we will make the we will pay the tax, right? So if you understand the tax procedures, actually the tax procedures are different from country to country. Okay. So in India, if you recall, we have a VAT, value added tax, right? We have a tax called value added tax. It is different from as per the type of the product, right? But now after GST, it was moved to GST, right? What is the GST? So the GST is, for example, central tax, central GST, okay, which is related to the central tax, okay. Then after that, we have a state tax, state GST. I will mention it. Okay. Earlier, we have a VAT tax for all the products. We have a VAT tax. Later, then we divided the tax amount into the two tax, which is state level one tax percentage and central level 1%, right? Then after that, if you want to observe international tax, only the products related to the international, we will have the international tax. Okay. So as of now, just we are going to discover the central tax and state tax. State tax is nothing but every state will, the percentage is different, right? Central tax is for all the states, the percentage is similar, right? So if I purchase any product, any 1,000 rupees of product in India, usually we will have a, for example, 1% is, for example, 5% is central tax and state tax is, for example, 2%. So entire together, the tax amount is 7%. Okay. So after this, as I mentioned, purchase tax, we can call it as an input tax. Okay. Because the product is coming our into our business, which is input. Input is coming. Okay. That is the reason we will call it as a input tax. Okay. So the sales tax. Okay. We are selling something to others. So it will come it as output. So it is going out, right? So try to understand. Purchases, when we are purchasing anything from the vendor or any from any other third party, so it will come as input, right? We are purchasing the item is coming into our business, right? So we are making the payment, which means the payment include the tax amount because it will come under a input tax, right? Output tax is nothing but when we are selling something to the third person, the product item total amount includes the tax itself. So other person is paying the tax. So which is output tax. Okay, got it. So now the type of the tax, for example. So when we are input tax will come under asset. Okay, how it will come under asset? So end of the day, every financial year, we are going to pay the tax to the government, right? For example, if we have salary tax or something. In a business also, we are finally we are making the tax amount to the tax government or else any tax agency. Okay. So here what is happening, for example, if I purchased a 100 rupees of 1,000 rupees of product. Okay. So if I purchase 1,000 rupees of product, the input tax is 100. For example, the tax amount is 100%, 100 rupees, right? The tax amount is 100 rupees. Okay. So this 100 rupees, I need to make a payment to the government, right? But when I purchase this product, at the time only I'm paying the product value as 1,000, right? It is already included in the product rate, right? So the owner of the product, they will make the tax amount to the government, which is 100 rupees. Okay. That is the reason we can call it as a asset. This input tax amount, we can call it as a asset. Okay. For example, output tax. So 1,000 rupees. When the product is 1,000 rupees, so we are selling this 1,000 rupees product to some other person. Okay. So what will call okay. You got it right. For example, just try to understand. Okay, tax amount. The input tax, we can call it as a asset. We can treat it as a asset because the amount which we already paid, which we are about to make that payment to the government, but we are already paid that amount to the respective vendor in advance. That is the reason when we make any payment in advance, we can treat it as a asset. Okay. For example, here I need to make a payment of the government, for example, $100. Here I need to receive the payment of $100 so that it will knock off, right? That is the reason. Input tax, we can call it, treat it as an asset, and output tax is a liability. Okay. So when we go to the configuration, we need to create the condition. First, we need to create the condition types. Condition type is nothing but, as I mentioned, we have a two types of taxes, right? Which is central tax and state tax that we need to inform to the system, right? After that, we need to tell the system transactional transaction key. Transaction key is nothing but we are telling the system whether we created central GST or state GST. It is input or input or output. Okay. So after that, we need to assign the GL accounts. Okay. So we can do step by step. First, we need to create the condition types. Okay. So I will open this code. BQ1. Okay. So here we have MWVS. Click on MWVS, which is already standard one. So I'm just taking it. We can create a new one or else we can copy this. Okay. So I'm just copying this. Here I'm creating for the CG central input tax. not doing anything. Central input tax, I will make it as a CTAME. Okay. CIT1. Okay. CIT1. Here I'm creating the input taxes. Okay. So side T1. Sales. I don't know why my laptop is not working. No. I have created the two condition types, right? So once I complete all the configuration, then you will understand why I created this one. Okay. SI T1. Okay. So I'm telling my system, these are my two input taxes. Okay. As of now, I just created, but only for my information, I updated the description as an input tax, right? But system is unable to identify because we need to do the further steps. Okay. So same way, I will create the central tax, central GST and state GST. For output, I will use the name of COST, sorry, COT1 and SOT1. Okay. So for my description, just I will prepare this one second. I will create it as COT1. Here we created the condition types, right? So here we created the condition types. One is for input for central GST, which is for input tax, and state GST for state input tax, right? So here I mentioned the same thing. Now the transactional key is nothing but we need to inform the system which one is the input and which one is the output, right? Input tax. Okay. So copy. Here the system will identify, for example, in the description, I will create the process, right? And process is nothing but I'm creating the transactional key, okay, for the input tax and output tax. Here, what is my condition type? Condition types. CI, CI01. I will mention as CI01. CI1. For central GST, I will take the CI1. Here, I will description, I will mention as central input. Okay, the condition type is 2. So with the help of this flag, the system will identify that it is related to the input tax. Okay, so first CI1. After that, I will copy this. I will create SI1. If you observe the tax type for output tax, the tax type ID is 1. For the input tax, the tax type is 2. That is the reason with the help of this tax type, the system will identify whether it is a input tax or output tax. Okay. So here I will copy. Here I will create it for output tax, which is CO1, CO1. CO1 already used. So I can use C1 O. Creating the state. Okay. S1. Okay. So as of now, what are the things we did? We created the condition type. So right. So as of now, what I mentioned in India, we have a central GST, state GST. Okay, so state tax or central tax. Okay. So for the state tax and central tax, I created this condition type. CIT1 is related to central tax input one input. Okay. The CIT1 is related to the input tax for state, right? Okay. So after that, the output tax, like COT1 is related to the output tax for central. For output tax state is SOT1, right? For these things, I have created the transactional key. With the help of the transactional key, now the system is easily identify that SIT1 belongs to input and SIT1 is related to the input tax. Okay. And the same way COT1 is related to output tax, right? SOT1 is belong to the output tax, right? So with the help of the transaction key, system can identify type of the tax, okay, whether it is input or output, right? Later that, after that, we need to create the GL accounts, right? So I go to FS00, FS00. What is my company code? TAMA is my company code. So just now I mentioned that input tax, the purchases will come under the assets, right? So these are the assets. So these GLs will come under assets and these GLs will come under liabilities, right? Because we have already made the payment. For example, when we usually the tax amount goes to government, right? But when we purchase any product from the vendor, we are directly paying the total amount, which includes the tax amount. So we are paying in advance to the government, right? So what will happen when we at the time of purchases, we are making the tax in advance, right? In a sales, we are not making the payment to the government. Okay. So entirely, for example, if uh, already paid amount is 1 lakh. Okay, the sales amount will be, I mean, the asset will be deducted from the liability. Okay, the remaining amount which we are supposed to make a payment to the government. Okay, is 00. So I will create 01, 02, asset tax, input tax, central. So here we need to click on the post automatically, right? As I mentioned earlier, these tax amounts automatically posted when we enter a document. Okay, we no need to enter the manual. Okay, so these are the 12 times 1002. So for the state, I will create the same. I will change the description. Right, 1003 I created for sales. Okay, so in the same way, I need to create under the liabilities 310 311 314 3014 liabilities, output. I'm just removing the recon account because I copied from this previous year. Okay. Post automatically. 014 I created. And after that, I will copy to 3015. Three zero one four and 3015. These GLs are created for uh, liabilities. Next, what I said, we need to assign the GL accounts, right? So that equals 'Here we have a transactional keys, right? What are the transactional keys which we created? These are the transactional keys which we created, right? If you're able to record, first we created the condition types, right? The condition type is the central GST and state GST. After that, we created transactional key C1, CI1, which is the system will know that it is an input tax, right? So CI1, I will open the CI1. This is my central GST, CI1. The chart of accounts is TAMA, right? So if I click on this, here I will have this posting key. What is my GL? For this transactional key, this is my GL, right? Hello. I created a condition type CIT1, which is related to the central input tax, right? So with the help of the transactional key only, system is identified that it's a input tax related to the central, right? So after that, I'm assigning this GLs to these transactional keys. Okay. So 100. If I click on this, 002 central. Okay. So if I double click, posting key is not defined. Central input tax CI1, right? Posting key, what is debit, is credit. Okay. So if I click on accounts, we need to maintain the GL 1002. I created for CI1. Then after that, I will create for SI1. 340. We don't have to have this one. Let me check this display. Meanwhile, we can see C10. C10. We have output central tax. Okay. So for this, the GL is a GL 3014, right? For the output tax, just I'm maintaining 3014. I'll say this. 40. We already know 40 is debit and 50 is credit, right? So just I'm assigning this. What is supposed to be C10 3014, right? 3014. Okay. So if I select this. In the same way, I need to check the other tax transaction keys also, which is S10. S10. Okay. So for S10, it is 3015. For this transaction, we don't have a position, so we need to check the things manually. So that is the reason it will take a little bit time to find that. Just one second. Just one second. Just one second. 40, 50. Three zero one five for responsive. SI1 input tax. One double zero three. Okay, now you got it right. What are the things we did? First, as we discussed for India, as per our example, we have a central tax and state tax, right? So we created the first condition tax. Condition tax is nothing but we created a CIT1 and we created a SIT1, right? After that, we created a transactional keys, right? If with the help of the transactional key, the system will identify that this CIT1 belongs to input tax, right? This SIT1 belongs to input tax. In the same way, we have created the condition type of COT1 and S4T1, right? So with the help of the transactional key, it is understood that it is COT1 is related to the output tax because we created a C10 and S10, right? After that, what we did, we created the GLs and we assigned these GLs, right? This transaction keys, we have assigned this 100, it is related to the GL of input tax for central, okay? For 100, it is related to the output tax, sorry, input tax for state, right? So now how the system will know all this, how it will calculate the percentage, right? So now we need to tell the system, okay, these are the steps we did. Next, we need to do the tax procedure. Procedure is nothing but we need to tell the system how that calculation can be happen. Okay. So click on new entries. I want to click new scratch. I want to create one tax procedure TAMA. Okay. This is for I will tell you this TAMA procedure for TM. Okay. So for India, I want to use the tax procedure of TAMA, right? So if I double click on this, here I need to maintain the formula. Okay. Control. If you observe, we have a condition types, right? How this calculations will be happen, I mean, how the tax will be calculated with the help of the base amount, right? As I mentioned, for example, 100,000. This is my base amount. From this 1,000, the entered document amount, so it will calculate the percentage, right? So here, I will enter the formula here. Okay, for example, 100. So what is this one? The base amount. Okay. Here I will take the condition type, which is already default one. Okay, here I create the condition type BA is I think base one. Yeah, base amount. that, I will create a 10, another step. The system will identify 100 step as a BASP. After that, what is my condition types I created? These are the condition types which I created, right? CIT1, SIT1. Just make a note of it. CIT1, okay, and 102, SIT1, 103, COT1, 104, COT1, SOT1. My transaction is CI1, SI1, right? I will copy and paste it. The transactional key is nothing but the both are the same one. Here we have the account keys, right? So I'm telling the system. First, I created a condition types, right? After that, I created account keys. Account keys are transactional keys, both are the same. Okay. So after the account in the account keys, I maintain the account assignment, which means that this I have created the GLs and it will understand that this if any tax related the input central, it will go to this GL, right? So after that, I will assign this to also. You clearly observe what are the things I mentioned. This is the just sequence 100, 101, 102, 103, 104, right? Any three digits we can maintain. Okay, any numeric 100, 101, 103, 102, 103, 104. So in the condition type, but I mentioned the default one base amount. Okay, from the base amount, it should calculate the tax, for example, right? For example, we have a state tax of 10%. How it will be calculated with the help of the document amount, right? For example, the document amount is 1000. 10% is 100%, right? So for example, state tax is only 5%. So 5% of state tax on 1000. So it will calculate like this, right? So how it is calculating? Okay, CIT1. Here the step number 100 belongs to BASP, which is base amount, right? So here also from I need to mention 100 so that it will take the base amount. Okay, so the central input tax taking tax amount from the base amount. Okay. Also, for every condition type, the base amount would be this one 100 step. That is the reason here I'm maintaining the 100, right? Here the account transaction account key I mentioned here so that the GL mapping also done. Okay. So, did I create this one or not? This one zero. Just I want to check what are the I created S10 or S10. I created S10 instead of this one. So here I created a tax procedure of TAM, right? So as I mentioned in initial, all the tax procedure is nothing but the method the country will follow, right? So as per our example, what we discussed, we have a two tax, central and state, right? So now is our country? IN, right? I click on IN. My tax procedure is TAM. Here I'm telling my system for country IN, we need to follow this tax procedure. Okay, just I want to recap the thing. First, for each country, will follow each tax procedures, right? So in the last step, what we did, we created the tax procedures. Tax procedure is nothing but the way we need to create, right? So in our tax procedure, all the taxes should be taken from the base amount, right? So first what we did, we created the condition types, right? After the condition types, we have created the transactional key. Transactional key is nothing but the system will tell you what is the debit and what is the credit. So as for example, normally 40 is the debit posting and 50 is the credit, right? After that, we mention in the system this TA I1, it is related to the debit. So that is the reason we created one. We created CI1, SI1, which is for input tax. After that, we created for output tax. Right. After that, we created few GLs. Input tax will come under assets. Right. That is the reason we have done the mapping. Right. So these are the steps as of now we did. Condition types we created. Transactional keys we created. Assign GL account. After GL creation, we assign the GL accounts to this transaction. As per that, we have created the tax procedure, right? Here we will maintain the, here we maintain the tax procedure, right? So OBQ3, let me open OBQ3. If I open, my tax procedure is TAMA, right? So TAMA we created. So we have done the all the assignment here, right? The base amount, central tax, sales tax, okay, our central output tax, state output tax, right? After that, all this calculation, all the tax calculation will done as per the base amount, right? After that, we have made the mapping. CIT1 belongs to the transactional key of CI1, SI1, C10, S10, right? So after that, what we did, I mentioned the system like these tax procedure TAMA, TAMA belongs to my country, India. So when I post any document, it should follow this tax procedure, right? So as of now, these settings are we done. So tomorrow we are going to discuss. I mean, not yet completely done. So tomorrow we are going to create the tax course. Okay. Tomorrow we are going to create the. We are going to create the tax code. Tax code is nothing but the transaction code is FTXP. Okay. Tax code is nothing but as of now we maintain the complete configuration, but we did not mention how much of input tax system should calculate, how much of output tax, right? So here in tax codes, we will create the tax code and we'll mention the tax percentage. For example, central GST, we have a two products. Okay, for example, for one product it is 5%, right? For another product it is 10%. Moreover, it is related to input tax only. Okay, so in under input tax for central tax we have a for X product, we have 5%. For Y product, we have 10%. That is the reason we will create this tax codes. For X product, we will create a X tax, X1 tax. Okay. For Y product, we will create Y1 tax code. Okay. So that what we'll do after that, we will mention this X tax code and Y tax code, the percentages. Okay. What is my kind? If I click on, if I'm trying to create the tax code, system is asking. Okay. Here, as I mentioned, I have a search central, we have a two tax codes, okay, 5% or 10%. For one product, 5%, another product, 10%, right? So that is the reason we have this tax IDs. Okay, so FTXP. Now system will ask you what is your country IN, right? After I created IN, it is asking me create any tax code. I will mention X1. Okay, this is the input tax. Okay, try to understand. This is the input tax. This is the system, as I mentioned earlier, tax type will tell you what is the input, or V is input, A is output, right? So if I tell V, I'm creating the tax code V, right? If you understand here, we can do the our configuration. Okay, here if you understand, it is automatically created, right? When I'm trying to create a tax codes, here I created only tax code X1. Under, I mentioned that company code is, when I enter the country key is IN, right? Automatically all these details are came out. Then how these details are came out? Because the tax procedure TAMA is assigned to the country IN, right? And in tax procedure TAMA, under tax code V, we made the settings: base amount, central input tax, input tax, central output tax, state output tax. Right? These are the condition types which we created. Got it?
Yes.
So just yes, actually I want to take in FTXP. I'm just when I open this FTXP screen, if you're able to recall, just I will go back. I will go back once again. FTXP. What are the things I mentioned in FTXP? What are the things? For example, state tax, right? How the tax will be, for example, in our normal purchases also, for any product, for example, usage, daily usage products, percentage is 2% tax. Okay. For example, any other luxury products is 5%. So the percentage of the tax will depends upon the type of the product, right? So in the same way, so when the percentage of, for example, for luxury products, it is 10%, right? Precious product. Okay. So any daily usage products, for example, percentage is 5%. So here, with the help of the tax codes, we need to tell the system how much of percentages we need to maintain. That is the reason we will create the two tax codes. Okay, one tax code is for this luxury products, for 10% we will maintain over there, and for normal regular usage products, 5% we will maintain here. Okay, that is the reason when I click on India, if I click on FTXP, okay, so I'm telling the system what is my country. Here I'm telling IN, right? When I click on IN, automatically system captured what are the tax procedure is following in the backend. Because in the backend we created the TANA tax procedure, right? So if I'm going to create a luxury or prestigious code, so it's P1 tax code, right? If I want to create a P1 tax code, P1, I'm telling that goes like this is a value goods, okay, with 10%, right? So if I mention like this, the system will ask you what is the tax type. It is a input or output, right? I'm just giving these basic information. So I'm just giving the basic information. What is my country and what is the tax code which I want to make and input tax. So when I click on a center, the system automatically capture, right? This tax procedure, how this tax procedure was came with the help of the tax country key, right? And all this information come. Now I can mentor if my central tax is, for example, I created this tax code only for this input. That at that moment, what I will do, I will mention is a 10%. Okay, I will save this. Okay, tomorrow we can do the complete setup of this FTXP, and when we can enter the document so that we can understand everything in a single go. Okay, any questions?
Nothing from my side.